Whitney. I'm representing some residents of Yorkville. The first half of what I'm going to be discussing here is going to be primarily addressing the presentation that we saw earlier, and then that's just my response, and then I have my own prepared notes here. So first thing, on a couple comments that I heard, data centers are the least of our problems. While I don't disagree that there are larger problems, coming from those who build it, it doesn't make it any less of a problem for those in the community who it will belong to. Second thing, I'd like to ask the council a question, because I've heard a couple numbers thrown back and forth about how many people this data center will employ. How many people are actually going to be hired by this data center? Because we've heard, like I said, ranges of numbers anywhere between 20 to 750. How in God's good name are we going to anticipate that these people are going to somehow manage to use 350,000 gallons of water a day just based on domestic use? So we're saying that, oh, they're going to be trucking in all these distilled bottles of water and they're going to be using it there and it's not going to be impacting our water supply. The math isn't mathing, folks. Let's do some numbers. Let's fact check that, because I don't believe that for a second. Also, DeKalb and the property tax decreases that these guys are claiming that they're seeing another increase coming their way. So hope you guys are ready for that. Second thing, for those hopefully paying attention, this is a massive data center. This is 5 times the size of the Meta data center that is already built in DeKalb. This would be an abomination simply on the city of Yorkville. So as much as I love jobs and everything, I think it's a pathetic comparison to things like Costco, Wrigley, and the businesses who actually support the community. So it's a gigantic, unprecedented commercial action for the city. This presentation he pitched, it's all tax benefit to the city itself, which is great, it's great revenue, but we still have yet to hear exactly on how you definitively intend on bettering the community itself. All I've heard is it's more money for us, it's more tax revenue. We could do these all amazing things. We could fund your schools. We could get you more recreation. We're gonna do the data center instead. So I'd love to hear you guys say how you will definitively lower taxes, or how you will provide relief to residents and not the corporations you are upholding and providing them to instead. I'd also like to add to the presentation of the Why Yorkville section of the presentation and say that it's because Springfield specifically has passed massive tax exemption bills in the recent years that the city is forced to comply with. So there's that. Your benefits so far from the city are nearly at net zero to residents. Police being your biggest cost is one of the most out of touch, quote unquote, benefits that you can pitch to residents, in my opinion, and I'd say it's a pathetic attempt. Like I said, in comparison to projects like Costco, Wrigley, I'm also extremely surprised that I didn't hear any sort of emphasis on the thrilling recreational opportunity we heard from Mr. Mayor last meeting around the data center that he expects us all to walk. So I just wanted to point that one out. Your other benefits, like your so precious tax contributions to your pockets and the school admins, are giant steaming piles of horse manure, considering Illinois schools have been falling behind repeatedly in American education, where a third of the kids in 4th grade can't read. So if you're saying that this data center is going to be bettering the kids' education because of the tax dollars that they might see, not will see, might see, I'm going to politely call y'all liars. And considering I've experienced Yorkville school systems firsthand, I'm gonna tell you guys that the money goes to the admin and renovations, not to helping students study, not to better paid teachers, or any programs for students to succeed, like feeding them in the mornings, giving them dinner when SNAP benefits are cut off, or anything like that. So I just want to think about where this money will be going, because if it's going to be going anywhere, I'd like it to go to the students and not the admin. So I'm just going to move on to my regularly scheduled comments that I was going to be planning before that came up. Last meeting I had a lot to say, a lot of stats to share about how detrimental this data center will be to our community. Between electric costs, water increasing in usage, property values, sound and light pollution, as many of you guys have heard, the horse crap tax credits Pritzker granted to data center investments, up to 20% in construction credits, and full tax exemptions from the state, along with general lack of appeal to residents here. I mean, ChicagoBusiness.com has even said that the recent activity in suburban and ex-urban areas is because the land is plentiful, power is accessible, and government hurdles are easy to navigate. However, upon discussion with residents and even representatives in other counties like DeKalb, cities where data centers and solar fields are becoming more common and more difficult to stop. My contacts shared that many policies from Springfield have all but tied the city's hands, meaning no matter how much we try to stop this, all we can do is attempt to slow it down. Some even suggested that the fools who lead these rezoning charges are staying silent purposely to make sure residents file suits, fight zoning, and aggressively defend our peaceful neighborhood. So with that being said, I say fight like hell. No matter how much we yell about not wanting a loud industrial fan in our backyard, the city has made it too easy for these companies to come in, purchase land, and of course, I have my own beef with completely independent of the city itself to the private entities that felt it was their best and or only solution to sell their land to a corporation like this. I completely agree with the representative and the resident who said that this is doing a disservice to farmers, to those who build our land up, to those who farm it themselves, and to bring the growth to those communities and feed our nation and our children. So I think it's a disservice, plain and simple. So once again, it appears the City of Yorkville, Kendall County, and their zoning permit requirements have made it all too easy to these companies to let them in. So I ask, Mr. Mayor, okay, I just wanted to make sure we're listening. Mr. Alderman, how tied are your hands in this? And have you and the city allowed and accepted companies to come in with their all-powerful attempts to trample small communities like ours? If you and the city have, then it's best you tell us now, before I or one of the other 1,000 signed petitioned residents raging comes to find it ourselves. I hope you come to consider the version of Yorkville that the residents want, along with your nearby re-election goals, in contrast to the way the state or federal government is bending your arm and preventing any of your spines from standing up and saying no to this data center. Thank you.
Yeah!